But life sometimes is going to push you into a little corner so you can introspect and ask yourself, am I doing things right? What kind of life do I want for myself in the future? Because if you are not thinking about the future, then you are comfortable with the now. Your now is even going to be your future. If you don't have that reason for wanting financial freedom, you are not going to do it. And like I've said, the reason is not the money. The reason is what you can do with the money. Yes, we want money, but money is not the end goal. The end goal is what you can achieve with that money. I see this culture of people investing here and there because of the principle of diversification that we've been taught. I think we have a wrong interpretation of that principle. The principle is focus. Focus on one asset. Build it such that it gives you an income. We tend to invest and build as if we are building for yourself. This is business. You're not building your own place to stay. So you have to make money. Let it make money first for yourself. That's when maybe as you are expanding the portfolio, you can focus on the cosmetics.
So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we welcome back to the show, Khumoetsile Kgosietsile.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm very well.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Deep Dive Sessions. My name is Khumo. Thank you for stopping by. Our goal with this show is to bring you and I in proximity to the people and ideas that will show us that it is possible and it can be done, and eventually help us achieve on our dreams and on our goals. Today, we have a special guest. We're having her for the second time on the pod, a financial educator, somebody who's also in the property development space. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we welcome back to the show, Khumoetsile Kgosietsile.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm very well.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. I've played this moment many times in my head, and I wanted it to happen so many times, and it's happened. So I'm very, very excited about today's conversation.
Thank you, Mpo.
Yes. Okay, so you came here first on the podcast, talking about your journey and how you went into debt and you're able to clear that debt out, and now you are going towards financial freedom.
Yeah.
And your financial freedom number, as you've said many times in your videos, is 30,000.
Yes.
So before we get into, and you're reaching that with my one room.
Yeah.
So before we get into my one room and how we're going to build it, how are you able to identify that number as your financial freedom number? Like, what are the mechanics of that 30,000?
Okay, I'm going to repeat what I shared in the first podcast that I was here.
Yes.
Understanding wealth building and understanding exactly what wealth building is. Because we do have a distorted meaning of what wealth is. We think that wealth is having many fleet of cars parked, having a big house, having there's $1 million in the bank account. I tend to say that is not wealth. Wealth is really creating an asset that will just give you enough money to cover your current lifestyle. So you have to look at yourself and ask yourself, how much do I need right now to survive or to just keep up with this current lifestyle that I've built for myself?
Yes.
That's wealth. So once you know that, how much you need, you just have to go out and build something that can give you that same amount of money. Most of us, our lifestyle revolves around the salary that we are earning. So the ultimate goal, if you don't want to do into the mechanics of calculating and doing all of that, you can just look at your salary and say, you know what, let me just build something that will replace my salary. So for me, my salary was slightly higher than 30. But 30 is the number that I needed.
The salary was slightly higher?
Yes, it was slightly higher than 30, yeah. And then I said, 30 is not like I need 30 to survive or I need less than that. But it was also appreciating that for me to continue investing, because investing is a journey that you have to keep consistently and you have to build something. Definitely. I needed that 30,000. So out of the 30,000, 15,000, half of that, I will reinvest it to build my portfolio. So I only need 15,000 to survive right now. And that number is what we call financial security. That amount of money that you need just for basic living expenses is financial security.
Rent, utilities,
food, clothing,
right,
as basic. And then Anything that comes after that is lifestyle. Anything that comes beyond the lifestyle is desires. Maybe you need to travel, like I want to travel at some point. So now I'll be pushing towards financial independence. I just wanted to remind you of the stages of wealth building. It's all about building wealth. It's not all about wanting a lot of money. Yes, we want money, but money is not the end goal. The end goal is what you can achieve with that money.
Right.
So yeah.
Lovely. We can end it right here. I mean, it's already enough information.
Yeah.
So wealth is a metric that is measured individually.
Yeah.
That's essentially what you're saying.
Yeah.
It varies from person to person.
True.
My wealth number can be different from yours.
Very different.
As long as it's what matters to me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you identified this 30,000 and now you're on track to reaching this 30,000
Yes.
Kama one room.
Yes.
So take us through that. First of all, let's just start from the beginning.
Okay.
Kama one room. Talk to us about your first unit. What was your plan? How did you get about it?
Okay. Before I go to that, I'm not going to answer that one first. It's about setting the number, which is 30,000, but it doesn't end there. After setting the number is about having a timeline. Because you can set the number, but if you don't have the timeline, you are going to take 20 years to get to that number.
Yeah.
So it was about putting that timeline. For me, the timeline was 5 years. 5 years counting from 2019, which is when I rejoined the corporate world. So I'm into the 5th year, and I'm sure maybe by April, somewhere there, I'll just be closing off the 30,000.
Wow.
And I can sleep, and I can be with my kids the whole day. Because I always say, if you don't have that reason for wanting financial freedom, you are not going to do it.
Yeah.
And like I've said, the reason is not the money. The reason is what you can do with the money. So for me, freedom is having my time freedom, raising my kids. I'm raising 3 boys, 12, 9, and 8. You can imagine the demands that are coming from these boys. So I want to be there for them.
Yeah.
I want to see them growing. I don't want to worry about missing this at school. So you can see, yes, I'm pursuing money, but I'm not pursuing money. I'm pursuing my time freedom so I can spend it with my kids. And when I'm looking at financial independence, I'm not after money. My financial independence number is 100,000. I'm looking at the impact that I can create with that money. Because if I'm saying 100,000 per month, yes, and rental income, financial independence. For me, I'm saying if I only need 15,000 and 20,000 for 30,000 for financial freedom, if I get 100,000, I can create jobs. That's the end goal for me. That's what I'm looking for, and that is what is keeping me awake at night, to push the numbers. So once I decided on the number and I put a time frame, it was like, what then? Which asset? Because there's so many assets out there that you can create. And I want to remind you that when you're talking about an asset, you are talking about investing. And there's so many assets that you can invest in. Business is an asset that you can invest in. But for me, it has always been, I love property. But as we know, property is very broad and it's also very capital intensive.
Yeah.
So it was me realizing my limitations to know that I don't have the money to get into like the top-notch property, but there's certainly something that I could do within the property market. This is when I was in Mau, and I looked around my location. Mau is also my community. I'm coming from Zao, married in Mau. I was like, okay, looked around. I'm seeing the standard of one rooms, because one rooms now, they are now catering for low-income earners.
Yeah.
I don't like the standard, but shelter is basic need. Everybody needs shelter, but everybody doesn't need to live in a substandard house, right? We all need to live in a decent location. I'm like, okay. I also related. I was a student at UB. At some point, I lived in Tlokeng, and I remember the house that I lived in. It was not meaning to say it in a bad light, but it wasn't up to maybe a certain standard. So I said, I can do this, but I can try to maybe up the standard a little bit, because we all want a decent place to live.
Yes.
And upping the standard was about a one room. It doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be tiled.
Yeah.
The walls doesn't have to be clean. Put a ceiling to it. Just make it decent so somebody can love living in that
make
place.
it habitable.
Yes.
Somebody can live in a long time.
So for me, that was really the niche. That was like, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it a little bit different, slightly different.
Okay, so did you have any experience in the property space before? So this was, you started this brand spanking new, getting into this.
Maybe the only experience that I had was I built my own house. I've always loved building. And even when I was getting into my primary residence, I've said, I'm not going to buy a house. I'm going to build my own house. So that was the experience that I got, building my own house. And then I said, okay, even though I wasn't really so much involved, because when we are building using a loan, it's a 10-key project. So you just get to hire a construction company. They do everything. So the level of involvement is really not that much.
True.
But I was there. I participated. I did material selection and all of that. But yeah, it was a step in the right direction for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had your own plot by now in Maung. You
I bought a plot, yes.
You bought a plot for this entire endeavor.
Yes.
You bought a plot, and then what was the next steps?
So for me, I bought a plot in 2013. And then before maybe talking about buying a plot, let's talk about location. Because we are not going to be a real estate investor without knowing the principles behind real estate investing.
Yes.
So for me, it was about location. Where can I buy? Where is it affordable for me to buy? Yes, Gaborone is very expensive. I was very lucky to find something in Gaborone, but it was a primary residence, something that the bank can finance. But then I said, there are so many other areas outside Gaborone where I can survive, where real estate is doing well.
True.
Because when it comes into location, you have to look at the economic base of the location.
Yeah.
Look around and say, what is the economic base of this location? What is driving people to this location? Because real estate is tied to jobs. So you need to understand the job market. What kind of people are coming here? What kind of jobs do we find here? Are they sustainable jobs? What is keeping this place going? Because remember, when you build in a location, you are not building for residents of that location. You are building for people who have been imported to that location by jobs. These people are not looking to stay in that location. They're looking for a place to stay while they're earning a living. So that was me, and Mau made sense for me. I bought this plot in 2013.
Where did you learn this?
Reading.
No, I mean like the whole, like
Robert
what you just said.
Kiyosaki.
Oh, Robert Kiyosaki.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I started reading Robert Kiyosaki's books while I was at UB 207. That is the first time I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then I read the whole series.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, carry on, please.
Yes. And then after understanding the location, we're talking about real estate here again. So after identifying the location, it's also now setting your own principles. Because remember, when you invest, any other investment, real estate included, you are looking for something.
Yeah.
You are not investing just to put a structure out there. You are investing because you are looking for returns. And in real estate, there are two ways you can get that return, or you can create it. Either it can be rental income, or it can be the appreciation of that property. All this combined, they're going to give you a return. What sort of return are you looking for? You have to set a benchmark. So in my case, it was like, I'm looking for something better than I can get elsewhere. Otherwise, why go through all this hassle? So 15% was a number that I set for myself as an investment principle. I need to invest in such a way that I can get at least 15%, not less than 15%. If it's giving me 15%, then I'd rather go take my money and put it in stocks or put it elsewhere, because why should I do it? So I'm looking for better returns. And then that's the number one principle that I set for myself. And then I also looked at what we call the payback period.
Yes.
If you are investing, you want to put your money and you want to recover it as soon as you can, so that you can take it and put it into the next asset. So for me, my payback period, I'm looking at 5 years or less. So when I looked at property and I looked at the different types of multi-residential properties that we can get there, the only one that met this criteria, low-income houses, one rooms downwards, or we can say studio pairs, because now we're doing studio pairs downwards. I looked at 2 beds and I was like, the returns were like, they cannot meet my criteria. This is me setting my own criteria. I'm not doing it because somebody else is doing it. I've sat down. I know the returns that I'm looking for. Right? So if you do it because somebody else is doing it, then it's likely going to give you frustrations. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So 15% is actually pretty decent.
Yes.
Because even in stocks and all these things, it's you can't necessarily get 15% is actually very, very, very decent in terms of return. You get it
in low income.
So okay, so talk to me about this now. You started this. You bought the plot 2013.
Yeah.
When did you start building on the plot?
I got the plot in 2013, but life happened, huh? Yeah, 2013. Actually, before I started working, I've always set a retirement age for myself. I said I want to retire at 35. So 2017, I left my corporate life. Before I was 35, tried to push because I'm a risk taker as well. So I was just feeling a little tired. I left.
And you were earning over 30,000?
No, not then.
Okay.
Just close to that.
Yeah.
Close to that, yes.
I was going to give you a hint.
2017, I left my job. I tried to push some other things, and then things just didn't work out.
All right.
Like I've said, I've shared it before that,
Yeah.
I was at some point in a deep financial hole,
Yeah.
but I managed to come out of that. But I came out of that because I wasn't shy to rejoin the corporate world. When things are not going well, you just have to come back and look for a job, right? So if you are going to leave your job, make sure that you are not burning bridges. I get it. You leave everything well because you never know what's going to happen. I get it. So you can come back knocking and say, hey, I'm looking for a job.
Definitely.
So fortunately, 2019, when I re-looked, I had worked for another bank for 6 months in my working life, and then I went back because jobs, banks, any sector, actually insurance, you can just hop like that if you are doing your job right. Right. So when I rejoined in 2019, I knew exactly what I'm rejoining for.
Yeah, you had a plan now.
Yeah, I had a plan.
Yeah.
30 months, financial security, and then I'm out, which is exactly what I did. So I bought the plot in 2013 and all these things happened. So I started properly building the portfolio 2019 when I rejoined.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you were going, you this is financial security, I get.
Yes.
Yes. So you get to that. And then as you start, talk to me now about the cost implications. For you to start building on the plot. What was the plan? What did you have on hand? What was the budget? How did things go?
Okay. The only thing that I had was my own budget, my income budget, personal income budget, and appreciating that I don't have money. And also appreciating that certain things would have to change about my life. Toning down my life so I can spend as little as I can on survival, on my upkeep, and then the rest of the money can go towards investing. Like I've said, 46% of my income, I dedicated it to investing after paying off the debt. 46%. That was around 17,000. So once the debt was out, because I did not have experience, I didn't want to do everything all at once. I think also this is why not having capital sometimes can be a blessing. Because if you have so much capital, you take it and pour it into a project, you haven't tested it.
And you tend to lose creativity also.
Yes, if you make mistakes, it's going to be costly mistakes. So for me, it was doing everything one step at a time. So doing my one rooms, I laid out the plan. I got the plans approved, but something that I have to say is the plans were not for one rooms, by the way.
Oh, okay.
It was for two beds, but I changed the land use to multi-res. But then again, as I was assessing, doing the bill of quantities for 2 beds, it was just too expensive. It was just too expensive for me to build. And like I've said, it did not meet my investment criteria.
Yeah.
So this is when I abandoned the plan. I said, okay, at least the plot is a multi-res. I can still go ahead and build one rooms. And then I said, let me start small. A block of 3 rooms is something that I can do one step at a time. 1 month I do foundation. Next month I push the brick wall. Next month I do the roofing. That's actually how I did it. So I did the first block. The first block for me was a testing block because I also needed to see how the market was going to respond to what I was doing. So initially in my head, when I was doing the first block, my target market in LA students from Mau Technical College, because the plot is very close to Mau Technical College. But as I was building, people came. Oh, we're looking for accommodation. This is now like the working class, like the low income earners. Oh, we're looking for accommodation. Let's see what you are building. There was just that interest. So as I finished, I have a list of potential tenants. They go in there. The first block is done, is giving me 1.5 coming to my pocket. I'm living as if that 1.5 doesn't exist. So I'm taking that 1.5, I'm adding it to the 17,000. That's 18.5. We progress to block number 2. Yeah.
Okay. So let's circle in on this first block. Foundation, wall, roofing.
Yeah.
Right? So the foundation, how much did that cost you, and what was the time horizon in terms of building this entire house? How long did you finish building it in?
Okay.
This first one.
The total construction cost for the first block was around 72,000. Yeah, so about 20-ish, less than 20-ish, went towards the foundation. So 1 month I was done with the foundation, or we can say 1.5, it will fall into the second month. But 5 months or so, that's what I took to build the first block.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Because if we count 17, 17, 17, yeah, and 72, 5 months.
All right.
But now as you are adding more rental, you are reducing the number of months that you will take to build because now you have more capital.
So you can invest.
Yes. So the principle that I'm trying to teach here is that as an investor, when you start earning returns from any investment, it could be stocks, it could be real estate. Forget about that income. Reinvest it so you can grow the portfolio. You are not going to reach financial security or financial freedom by investing once off. You invest and you keep on doing it. You find that one asset, you love it, you repeat. You build a portfolio until you get to the size that you want. Normally people, I see this culture of people investing here and there because of the principle of diversification that we've been taught. I think we have a wrong interpretation of that principle. The principle is focus. Focus on one asset, build it such that it gives you an income. So once you've reached a certain level of income, that's when now you can diversify. And diversifying doesn't mean that if you're investing in property, you diversify out of property. You can still diversify within property. If I'm building one rooms, my diversification can come in different forms. My diversification can be location diversification, where now I'm moving from Mau, maybe I'm going to Palape, I'm going to Letakana. It's diversified location. And then diversity can also be tenant mix, whereby maybe I was targeting students, now I'm increasing the size of my rooms to target somebody else, maybe retail workers. That's still diversity. Yeah, so now if you are going to invest one room and then you leave it there, you go into stocks, you are not going to achieve what you want because you need to focus.
Yeah, focus is power.
Yes,
and then immediately after you did that, you jumped into your second block.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there a point where you're building 2 blocks concurrently?
No,
so
and I'm never going to do that.
Block by block.
It's block by block.
Okay.
Yes, it's block by block. Stage by stage.
Stage by stage.
Yes. I've tried to do that. Actually, before I went into my wine rooms, I had another project, Bachelor Pets project. And I made a lot of mistakes. I wanted to build, I was doing it as if I've got billions, millions of money sitting somewhere for me to build. I tried to do foundation for 6 blocks. I did foundation for 6 units, roof, and then brickwork for 6 units, and then I'm stuck. I'm still stuck. They're still there, all at roofing level. And then also I focused on cosmetics. I always want to say, if you are going to be an investor and you are starting out, forget a little bit about cosmetics. We tend to invest and build as if we are building for yourself. This is business. You're not building your own place to stay.
Yeah, so you have to make money.
Yeah, you have to make money. Let it make money first for yourself. That's when maybe as you are expanding the portfolio, you can focus on the cosmetics. Cosmetics, I'm talking things like,
bells and whistles.
Instead of putting aluminum windows, you can just put the normal windows with burglar bars. That's still nice. Instead of using this, the clay tile, it's very expensive because it needs a very strong structure to support it, and it's very expensive. You can use an alternative. We have IBR. Even they can even do it. It's painted. I don't know what it's called when it's painted. You can still use it and still nice. It's still very durable. So you're not compromising quality. You are going for right quality, but you are trying to cut costs as much as you can. Cosmetics will come at a later stage. And the other thing that I always want to say is, if you invest in property, you need to understand valuation. Valuation for investment property is totally different. The way they do it is totally different the way they do it with residential. Residential, yes, they use comparables. They're going to look at the next property next to you, where is it selling and all of that. But if for commercial, because real estate, when you are investing, is now commercial, they use income approach. How much income is this thing generating? That income is going to determine the value of your property, not the cosmetics.
What about location and all that?
Yes, location maybe. Location, it can matter a little bit because it can influence what we call the capitalization rate, which is your rate of return. Because if you know the capitalization rate in a location and you know the income, we call it net operating income that you are making, you can determine the value of your property. But we say income, focus on income. Focus on income. And then cosmetics, you'll see them later.
All right. Yeah. That's pretty interesting because maybe just a side note. For me, I don't know how far true this is, but I've seen everywhere where plots are expensive and houses are expensive, people are jogging in the morning. Have you seen that? Every time where it's expensive, people are walking their dogs or they're jogging. You're not gonna find plots like where you know, every time, like, just look around.
Yeah.
Every time at those high ends, it's always people jogging and whatever, you know, and midday and sweatpants, and you know, hey, those plots are expensive. But anyway, let's come back to the point of building this. So you took the second unit. Before you build, you said you had 72,000. You invest. That's how much it costed.
Yes.
Did you have all that upfront, or you built it in stages?
I did not have 72,000 because if I wanted to raise 72,000, I was going to wait forever. I used 17,000 from my salary. So every month it was 17,000, 17,000. Even right now, I don't have money, but I'm still going to build. I don't wait for money to fall from anywhere. I do with what I have.
I love
If
that.
I have 5,000, I'm going to take that 5,000, buy bricks and pack them. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a great principle, even for business, for everything.
Yes.
Because we want the whole staircase instead of just the next step.
Yeah.
We want the whole staircase. So I think it's quite key in the sense of that. And also you focus on different stages.
Yes.
At the different. But what is the most difficult part of the building? Like, which one is the one you fight with contractors?
Obviously, it's managing people. You know, people are the hardest to manage. So dealing with contractors is one of the most difficult things. And just dealing with them, it will include controlling material and all of that. You need to be present. If you are not present, you need to have a property, somebody to manage for you, because there's a lot of little fingers that can go here and there. So, just dealing with people in general. And also knowing that if you are going to select a contractor based on cost, then
you might compromise quality.
Might compromise quality, and it can cost you a lot of money. So I say do your own checks, the due diligence check, go reference check, go and visit the sites. Always deal with people by what they can demonstrate, they can show you the portfolio of evidence of what they have done. So maybe you meet somebody on Facebook, I'm a builder, go check. Because construction now is money. The mistake is money. To correct it, you use money. That was the most difficult for me. I remember when we switched from standard one rooms, now moving into a studio pairs, now we're including plumbing. Mistakes happened in there. So mistakes happened.
Awesome. Yeah. Let's talk about you've talked about this before, and I loved it. So I want us to reiterate it.
Okay.
Talk to us about your non-negotiables in terms of my one room, in terms of building these things that you don't negotiate with, your principles. What are some of those?
Okay. My non-negotiables. First, it starts with material quality. So right now in Mau, we have an issue of houses cracking. So because of the soil composition, so there's just that problem. So I always make sure that I don't compromise on foundation. I go all out. If it means putting a lot of reinforcement, I do that because I don't want to build and then the next thing I'm fixing things. So for me is foundation is very important. I don't negotiate that. I just want the best and I want it to be done up to the standard. And then also when it comes to tenants, my tenant selection, I'm rigid on it. I want to know your income. If you cannot tell me what your income is, then there's no how we can work together.
You don't want hustlers?
No, hustlers I can allow, but you have to show me a statement so I can assess and see, okay, but there's consistency or there's an average income that is coming. Because even as a hustler, you have an average income. So does your average income meet my criteria of selection? So for me, that's that. And also, I tend to now and then, okay, I build a relationship with my tenants, but they know that I do house checks now and then. Because I don't want surprises. I don't want to come in and then the walls are very dirty to a point where it takes a lot of money for me to build. And I also don't...
Are they scheduled or you just...
No, scheduled. They know. I normally inform them. I normally give them a notification to say, I'll be coming to do this on this date. And a lot of people have asked me, why do I love painting with white? That's also my non-negotiable. My houses, I make sure that they're painted with white. Whoa. White for me because it's easy to maintain. So white, when one tenant is going out, I don't have to do coat and then recoat. I just apply one layer and then it's back to where I want it to be. Yeah. Why do they use white in hospitals? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the paint is oil?
I don't use oil. I use
Water paint.
also for insurance reasons, because normally when it's oil, when it burns, oil is just too toxic inside the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay, so, and as you are building these, we talked about your first unit, and then your, I think slightly we're getting into your second.
Yeah.
What has become, obviously, the maybe the speed at which you're able to deliver has become one of the advantages of that. But what becomes easier as you build more and more units, as you are going down this path? What becomes easier, and also what becomes difficult with the increase of more units?
Okay, what becomes easier now is you're becoming more efficient. Efficient in terms of getting everything to work together. You've built relationships with good people. You know, you're not testing anybody. You now have this one person. I know when I want my house to be painted, I just call this one person and I trust them. I've used them. I know when I want plumbing. So having that tenant, that base of contractors, so for me it's something that I'm getting better at as I'm building more and more. But as your portfolio is growing, you're adding more people in terms of tenants. So it means that your pool, your tenant, is now increasing. And then also one other thing that we need to appreciate about one rooms is other things really are not practical for you to do. If you are building one rooms, it's not practical for you to put, to separate water, to put different meters. Per room. It's not practical. It's going to be too expensive. So that's something that I'm learning to manage right now, because initially I had just lumped out like 12 tenants that are sharing this water, and then it's becoming chaotic. So now I'm getting to a point where why not consider maybe per block, I put a meter per block. Maybe I could start doing. That's something that I'm learning as I'm progressing. So you find that even in terms of separating the electricity, it's not practical for standard one rooms. For studio pets, yes, it's fine, because you can justify it with the rental. The rental is up, but for one room seller, just the standard is sometimes it's not. Practical. But I'm also separating the electricity meter per block. That's per block, yes. And I've also said, I'm also going to limit my blocks to 3 units, because sometimes we'll say people rebuild at Terrena we're doing 5 units. So now I'm looking at also risk management, because Kanano, you also need to think risk management, think insurance. I'm thinking if it's 5 units, if something happens, maybe there's fire, it's going to be 5 units burnt. Yeah. So if it's 3, it's now like I'm putting fire breakers in between. So this is why I'm doing 3, and I don't see myself doing more than 3 units per block.
Per block.
Yeah, for risk management purposes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So when a tenant comes in, you said 1.5.
Yeah.
Does this include utilities? Does it include electricity and water, or they're separate?
For studio pairs, they have their own electricity, so it's just only water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now talk to me about the management, because I think this is where, especially in terms of getting paid.
Yeah.
What is your process in terms of getting paid from your tenants?
Yeah.
Is there a system that you run with? For the Karikana, D5 is the deadline, and what? Walk
Definitely.
us through that.
I said it's a business, right? So the first thing that you need to do is after tenant selection, you're happy with the tenant, they have to sign the lease. If they cannot understand the lease, read it together. Read the lease with the tenant. Okay, let's go through the most important things in the lease. I want my payment on this certain date. Rental is paid in advance. By the 1st, I should get my rental, right? And I don't get cash. We're a cashless society. You pay into my bank account. There are the account details.
Okay.
I want it to reflect in the account. You teach them. This is how you should reference it. I need to know that it's yours, because you are many. You put your name as the reference, so I don't have to struggle with my reconciliation. So they do that. And
so you can get paid anywhere you are?
Anywhere I am, yes, I can be paid. And I've also put a clause there that you pay me after the 5th. I'm charging penalty fee. Late fee, 5 pula per day. So it's up to you. If you want to pay 5 pula per day, you pay me on time. Yeah, and also setting, you can spot a bad tenant just from the get-go. A bad tenant is somebody who's going to start negotiating with you from the get-go. And the moment you accept that, you've set a wrong precedence. It's going to continue. So if it's a bad tenant from day one, they should be out. Otherwise, it's just headache.
But how do you deal with them now when they're already in and you realize, this one is
You have to be
This is
tough.
where the danger is.
Yeah, I had one tenant.
I mean, tell us the story of what happened and how you dealt with it.
Yeah, I had one tenant. Okay, this guy was into the taxi business. I understood when he got there, we looked at the statements. Yes, he had a couple of arrangements where he was dropping and picking kids from school. So I relied on that income. So, okay, this one at least is coming as a lump sum, and then you are also doing this one on the side. So I'm happy with this. So yes, he was paying, and then from third month, he would pay very late, tell me stories, and then I was like, I'm not going to take stories. I'm in business here, so if you don't pay me by this date, get out of the house. I know it's apparently I'm not allowed to do that, but hey, I did it.
It's apparently not allowed.
Yes, to evict a tenant just like that.
Really?
Yeah,
Hey,
you should get the attorneys here to tell us. Mpointler, tell us about that. Anyway. But I found myself, I said, no, I'm in business. Because imagine you have been transporting the kids to school and the parents don't pay you. How are you going to fuel the car? What are you going to do? Put yourself in my situation. So get out of my house. And then they didn't get out of the house. I came and locked the house. And then, you do those things sometimes. You have to be tough.
That's what they do.
Yeah, you do those things. What do they call it? Skeleton key. I do have that. I do have that. I lock.
Okay.
It's not allowed anywhere. Please, this one, take it out. Okay.
But I think it's practical. You know what? It's practical because
we all want money.
There's no way you can own these amount of units.
Yes.
And then you don't meet a bad tenant.
Yeah, you do.
Hey,
that was my bad tenant.
Hey,
yeah, but in terms of talking,
at least you are nice. I would have gone to cook my meal in the house.
No, for me, it's establishing a relationship with them. Because once we establish, and I always tell them I value communication. And I'm not a bad person. If I experiencing problems, you know upfront, please talk to me. Let's talk. Don't just be quiet. It's the 10th. I'm asking. That's when you tell me you don't value me. Talk to me. On the 2nd, you were supposed to pay on the 1st. You haven't paid. You haven't received your salary. Talk to me. I had an experience this December. One other guy is working for a Chinese company that are doing the water reticulation project in Mau. So these guys were paid late. Do you know what he did? He's a good tenant, super good tenant. So he went to the office and then he told them, you are going to call my landlord and tell them you delayed my payment because I don't want to mess that relationship with my landlord. So I'm receiving a call from the office and he say, you are not going to tell them it's me. Just say one of your tenants. And then I was like, oh, no, it's fine. I knew.
You knew who it was?
Yeah, I knew who the tenant was. And I was like, okay, no, it's fine. I understand. Say, no, we delayed with the payments, but tomorrow they're receiving their payments. They should pay. I'm like, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. My other point to that question, So I run a tutoring business.
Yeah.
So I know that in terms of when month end comes, you kind of have to remind your clients, on such and such a date, what. Do you remind them?
No.
Or they just know it's standard when they have...
Shelter is a basic need. I don't have to remind you to eat.
Yeah.
As much as I don't have to remind you to eat, why should I remind you to pay rent?
Yeah.
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 It's just understanding, prioritizing, understanding needs and wants. If you are going to take your 600 and you are going to buy a dress while you're supposed to pay rental, then you don't know where your priorities are. I cannot deal with that.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So if you were to start today, your own journey, start. What would you do differently from what you have done so far in terms of your journey of running this business?
What will I do differently? I will still not borrow money. Please, I will still not borrow money. I will just do it exactly the same way I'm doing it. Yes. Because for me, I love the opportunity that it has given me to learn. Because for me, it's all about learning, making mistakes on a smaller scale and then growing as I make mistakes. And also being able to share my journey. I always say that the intentions of money managers is not to show you what I'm doing. It's to share with you so we can all learn. That's the intentions. And I would do it exactly the same way I've done it. But I will involve my kids a lot more because now they're growing, they can understand a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that one is very paramount. I asked a lot of successful people, how are you including your kids into the business for continuity?
Yes.
So that it goes and grows. So right now, Let's talk about different locations. I'm assuming maybe you have studied other locations. Where would you want to start if you were to place one, say in Gaborone?
If I want to...
If you were to do my one room in Gaborone, where would you start?
If I were to do my one rooms in Gaborone, I would go to Odi. Odi, I would look for something that is not too far away from Pakalani, because Odi is feeding off Pakalani. So that's for me. How many malls are in Pakalani?
Yeah, that's quite a
2 malls. Who is the anchor tenant? Who are the anchor tenants in the mall? Because we need to understand these things. Like an anchor tenant is that big retailer. How many people do they employ?
Many.
Many people. How many shops are there?
Many.
Many. So I'll start in Odi. How many warehouses are in Odi?
Plenty.
Plenty.
Yeah.
How many residential properties are in Odi for the working class, for the middle class, and the rich class, or whatever they call them? These people, they need what? Helpers. Helpers. They want to stay closer to where they're working. So I'll go to Odi. Yeah.
Simple equation, eh?
Yeah.
That was a drop the mic moment. That was a drop the mic moment. Eh?
Yeah, because even if you compare the pricing in Odi, it's not as ridiculous as Klokweng or Mohoditan. It's still, yes, it's
like
but
Odi Matebeleng.
We can do it. And then one other thing that I've said is, okay, we all want to be in gaps and surrounding villages, but we have this mentality of, I want to go at it alone. It doesn't work. If I'm looking for a plot in Klokweng, it's 1,000 square meters, and I have a friend, Sakabo, is also looking for a plot. She wants to do the same thing. Why can't I come to Sakabo and say, okay, take 150, I take 150, we buy this plot together? We're not buying it with the intention of owning it together. We're buying to subdivide so all of us can have a portion of land. We start there. The problem is isolation. Wanting to do it alone,
silos.
Thinking that, okay, uplifter, but we should be uplifting one another, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think it should have, you can clap, you can clap. I think we should also have things written down.
Yes.
Because
yes.
You know, my mom walked in. She's there at the back.
Okay.
She walked in at the back. And you know, that you can deal with someone. You know, you have, maybe it's a relative, maybe it's someone you go to church with, whatever.
Yeah.
We're actually going through a situation with the tenant. It's crazy. It's caught and whatever. Because of this tenant, it was somebody you had an existing relationship with. But sometimes when you don't explicitly put those things written down, it becomes a nightmare afterwards. Now you have to fight each other.
Yes.
You know, it becomes a problem. So I think there has to be definitely a lot of emphasis on writing these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, even as we're doing things together, but we know where we're standing.
Yes.
Everyone needs to know their position.
100%.
Yeah.
Even from risk management, okay, I could be getting into buying the plot with her, but what happens, maybe we've put in the money and then one of us is to go. What happens?
Yeah.
So we're protecting ourselves from that perspective as well.
Yeah, no,
not for we don't trust one another. Yes, we trust, but we have to reinforce that with a document. Is meant to protect me, is meant to protect her.
Definitely.
But also, but then we have to get into that. Pay that little fee to an attorney, that agreement, and then, you are done with it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Talk to me then about insurance, because I think this one is key. How fires, all these things. When you set up insurance for your blocks. Please like maybe for people that maybe don't get it like that, or they think maybe it's something you can do at a later stage. Walk us through maybe the importance of insurance.
Okay. Insurance is about risk, transferring the risk. You are appreciating that I'm building this property. This is my income generating property. How do I then protect this income? Because anything can happen to it and can destabilize my ability to earn from this asset. So now this is when you are thinking insurance. You are thinking, okay, fire. What happens in the case of fire? If this property burns down, all of it, then it means my rentals are gone with it. Yeah. So that's where insurance is coming in. I always say, get the right motivation for insurance. If you don't know the motivation, people are always going to think, oh, insurance is just an afterthought. It shouldn't be an afterthought. It should be at the forefront. You are building an asset, also protect it. Protecting, you are not only protecting the asset, you are protecting your income. This is now also when you need to learn about valuation. When you are doing this property, you do the valuation. You are not doing it only for the sake of debt, right? You are doing it when you look at this valuation, when you read it, you are going to realize that there are 3 figures there specified in your valuation.
Please walk us through
There
those.
is the open market value, which shows where similar properties are selling. And then there is the enforced sales value. This is now when the property, maybe you are going through financial difficulties and the bank has to repossess. This is where they will sell it. And then you have the replacement cost. That's an important figure because that's what insurers are going to look at to insure your property. How much is it going to cost to replace the entire structure? If anything is to happen, fire is to happen, and all of those things. So it shouldn't be an afterthought. It should be at the forefront, protecting your asset. As much as you protect your income. Anyway, most of us, even our income is not protected as we speak, but our income is our only asset that we have, our earning ability.
Yeah, it's quite scary.
All these things, they all work together.
Yeah. And you've talked about your salary being your biggest investment builder.
Weapon,
being your biggest investment weapon. I want to give you a scenario. Imagine I'm earning 13,000, but I want to get into my one room soon because it's gonna also progress builds momentum. When you see where Mihela in one place, you know, you become quite depressed. You know, if I'm earning 13,000 and maybe my living cost is about 6.8, and then how can I start? If you were in my shoes, how are you going to structure starting and getting into my one room?
First, I'm going to manage my expenses. That's what I have within my control, right? 13,000. Why can't I live off 5,000? If it's just me without kids, then 5,000 is something that I could live within. Then I would have 7,000. If 7,000, I'll ask myself, am I willing to commit this 7,000 to the bank? Do I want to do it fast? If I want to do it fast, then it means I have to commit it to the bank in exchange for what? For a loan.
For more money.
But then again, you also need to understand the debt-to-income ratio, that they do those things. Don't just go to the bank about a 50% debt-to-income ratio. What are you comfortable with? Because when they tell you 50%, then they're saying that, you know, we can give you a loan and you can commit 50% of your salary. But realistically, is it within your budget? Maybe when you can only commit 30%. You commit what is within your budget, and then you can accelerate your journey, or you can do it one step at a time. You have to be patient. If you don't have the muscle for patience, you need to develop it. Yeah, you just need to develop it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then this 72,000, have you included labor inside? Labor is included, cost, everything.
That's everything for the first block, 72,000.
Okay.
So if you divide it by 3, so one block, one unit is how much? Divide 72,000 by 3.
24, I think.
That's around 24. I get it. So if I've started with 3 units, nothing is stopping you from starting with 1 unit. I get 24,000. You don't have to do 3. Or you start with 2, that's around 50 something. Start with what you can, with what you have.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Even if it's one room standalone, you do it nice, you do another standalone, you do another standalone, you are done. Get people
and I mean,
renting
in the same scenario of what I gave you, 7,000 you have, you can have your first block in 3 months and some change. Because 7, 14, 21.
If it's just one unit.
That's just one unit.
If it's just one unit.
So in a year, you can have 3. You can actually have 3 in a year.
Yeah, you can have 3 units.
Then you can multiply it from there.
But the reason why we like to do it as a block is just to reduce the cost as well. Because remember, if you do it standalone, we are building 4 walls, for 1 unit. But now you cut the walls by making a block.
Yeah.
So in 12 months, you can actually, that 7,000 can build you 2 units maybe. 7 times 12 is how much? Multiply.
7 times 12?
Yes.
12, 14, 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere there.
Number. Somewhere there.
So, are you comfortable to telling us how many units you have in total?
Why do you want to expose me?
No, I want this to, and if you tell us in terms of how many units and then how quickly you were able to build those, because I wanted to get a pattern in the sense of the more you have, the quicker you are building it.
Okay. Let me tell you, this is my property portfolio. Right now, I've got 21 units. Out of those 21 units, out of that 21 units, this is my property portfolio. Out of 21 units, It's 3 beds. I'm no longer living in that 3 beds. It's giving me 6,000. It's 2 beds. It's giving me 4,000. That's 10,000. It's 6 studio pets. They're giving me 9,000. And then it's 13 standard one rooms. Standard one rooms, I mean, shower, it's just a one room. And then there's a shared ablution, so you can calculate. Now you're calculating my financial. I like to be transparent. I get it. Just as a way of saying, you know what?
Number.
Yeah, it's a journey. So that's 27.
That is lovely.
27 and then you can count the tuck shop in there because it's also giving me 600. Put the tuck shop.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
That is powerful. This is a success story.
27.4. So we are short 2.4 to get to 2.4. Yeah, 2.4 to get to the 30,000. With the next block that will be put in, then I'll be financially free.
Come on.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
That is powerful. That is powerful.
The other thing that I want to share, the reason why I was sharing my portfolio is I wanted to get to a point here. Of this portfolio, if you can ask me, where are you getting the most joy? I'm going to tell you that I'm getting the most joy from my one rooms. You know, when you build 2 beds upwards, you are targeting middle class. And I always tell you that there's no money in middle class. You are talking about people who are very, okay, let me put it in a nice way. You are talking about people who are overcommitted.
Yeah.
They're driving nice cars, they're living, you see, you get that. So the priority is stubborn.
But the net is very low.
Yes, the priority is stubborn. It's about looking this nice lifestyle. So these are the people, when you are supposed to receive rentals, they're going to give you stories. Yeah, and I'm even talking about it from a practical point of view, from experience. So for that reason, guys, I'm never going to go do anything besides studio pets going downwards. That's just my journey. I just want to build my brand like that, my one rooms, and that's it.
And this journey, this entire portfolio journey, how many years did it take?
Okay, let's count. Yeah, my one room started from the 2019. And then the 3 beds and the 2 beds edition, you get the mistake that I corrected. I get it.
Yes.
Yeah, so because this is now going, and then but now it's adding to part of the income.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely. That is a lot of discipline.
Yes.
And
but you can see now my hair is growing, right? Yes. So I'll be able to do braiding because guys, these are some of the decisions that we have to make. Simple things like me changing my hairstyle. I never knew that I would go ballad in my life. I was always this girl, bob cut. Even look at you be, the hairstyle, bob cut. I was that kind of a girl. But life sometimes is going to push you into a little corner so you can introspect and ask yourself, am I doing things right? What kind of life do I want for myself in the future? Because if you are not thinking about the future, then you are comfortable with the now. Your now is even going to be your future. I didn't want my now to be my future.
You're sacrificing now for the
so
future.
I had to make my sacrifices right now so I can live my best life in the future. I can braid my hair as much as I want because I'm now growing it. I can afford moisturizer. Back then I couldn't because the money moisturizer was my brick force. Because brick force is around about 14, 24. So that's moisturizer. Yeah. So you see, you start interrogating your expenses to those details to say, okay, these shoes, if they cost me 500, how many bags of cement? So that was me. I would see myself posing in a shop because even back then, I would see myself posing. I'm like, this dress. Create a value. How many dresses do I have? Many of them, but I still want to buy this dress. But this is 5 bags of cement that I could buy with this money. So you go to those details. Now it means that something is getting in here. Because eventually you'll afford as many dresses as you want. Yes.
And you don't have stress. You're not buying stuff on credit. It's just...
And the thing about what I've realized about this journey is the moment you start building, a lot of things are just going to be, you're not going to be interested in a lot of things. Things that used to make sense to you like clothing, they no longer matter. This is why you'd see me wearing the same dress. I have got 2 dresses right now, and I'm so comfortable in those dresses because I'm no longer dressing to impress people. I'm dressing for my own comfort. How many times have you seen me wearing this suit? This is the only suit that I have. So you get me. And I'm not even bothered. Yes.
I couldn't tell though.
Oh,
Let me just put it there.
The last time I was here, I was wearing the same suit.
Yeah.
Yes. So
yeah.
for
No,
me,
you
it's
style it
like,
very
yes. Yeah. So for me, it's certain things, they start not making sense to you. They don't matter anymore. What matters is the freedom
goal.
that you want. But that could only be important if you have that compelling reason, why you want financial freedom. If the reason is not compelling enough, pressure is always going to say, do this. Yeah.
Thank you guys for watching this episode. We really hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. Deep Dive is dedicated to bringing you the most comprehensive and engaging information about business, personal finance, and personal development. Make sure to hit that subscribe button to stay updated with all our latest content. If you like this video, give it a like to show your support and help us reach a wider audience. And don't forget to share this video with your friends and your family who may be interested. Sharing helps us grow our community and connect with like-minded individuals. Leave a comment below and give us your biggest takeaway on this episode. If you're interested in being a part of our live studio audiences, make sure to register for the next show. Can't make it to the show? No problem. Check out our Patreon page to watch the full episode and get exclusive access to more great content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode of The Deep Dive.